Welcome to Jurassic World.
Good morning, guests. Welcome to Jurassic World Minute, where we visit Jurassic World 1 minute at a time. Remember that one time those inflatable fences didn't work? Or was that 2 times? I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And here we are back to discuss minute 41 of Jurassic World. Looking at a featured article here. Back in, just before Jurassic World's release, Slash Film went and visited the Orlando sets and that for Jurassic World, and they got a 5-page article here. We're really only going to focus on page 2 and 3, with them visiting the control room, said to be like NASA's mission control, which I think this is looks a lot more like NASA than what the original Jurassic Park control room looked like, just with the screens. Here they must have interviewed Jake Johnson about his role as Lowry, because he says it serves as the voice of the audience on screen. He's concerned about the irresponsibility of the park's creators and the evolution of the capitalistic measures adopted by the park, which we've seen earlier with the Pepsisaurus and Tazedodon and all that sort of stuff. Interesting here, it says that he went to the Universal Studios theme park in Orlando for inspiration for the control room here, but Colin was actually disappointed because the control room at Universal Studios is just a couple of guys in a room with some small old monitors, which I thought was funny.
This is probably true, though. I mean, a lot of the rides, I would imagine, are more either automated or ran on site. There's probably not much to really control except maybe lights or stuff like that, and even that can be automated, you know?
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing with the original Jurassic Park was we're going to automate as much as we can, then control everything else from this one room with minimum staff. Those big parks, as you said, like a lot of the rides, all their controls, and that would be localised to the ride itself. Yes, you'd have power coming back and forwards, maybe security camera feeds, but apart from that, there's no one sitting at a console telling the roller coaster at Disneyland to start or anything like that. That's all done on site, on location.
Mm-hmm.
One thing they do mention too, we sort of discussed when we first get to the control room, the either the mirrored image or whatever, the glass viewing area or something at the back of the control room where it was reflecting the island map, and that where here they actually confirmed that there's a wall blinking audio equipment and lights in a server room with a glass enclosed room. So in the background, whenever we see Masrani in that looking up at the map in the background, we can see those blinking lights and the reflection of the map and the displays. It's actually the server room with the glass window in front of it, not a visitor viewing area, I suppose you'd say, which I might have suggested when we first got to the control room. So
I mean, I could understand. I mean, because the first Jurassic Park had that where you went in that ride and you saw how Jurassic World was, how they did the dinosaur cloning, and then you saw the control room, which was kind of a way for Spielberg to cut down the boring tour. That even in the book, the characters started yawning and it kind of condensed it into this nice little short ride that gets interrupted by the eagerness of the characters.
is there any way to stop this thing? Oh, yeah, from memory, it's 25 or 30 pages of dialogue and explanations and DNA in that novel. That is condensed between.
Then I think Grant started yawning at some point, and they're like, "Okay, we're moving on."
The link for the website and that article is in there. It's a good bit of read. Fills in a bit of the backstory for this set and a lot of the other sets they built in Orlando for the making of the film.
Oh, cool.
The implant will shock it if it gets too close to a perimeter fence.
Okay, it's moving really fast.
This is Control. Put out a park-wide alert.
Hang up that damn phone, please.
Sorry, I'm getting new information. Everything's fine.
Let asset containment capture it quietly. The very existence of this park is predicated on our ability to handle incidents like this. It was an eventuality, okay?
You should put that in the brochure. Eventually, one of these things will eat somebody.
That paddock is 4 miles from the closest attraction. ACU can handle this. No one else is gonna get
Eaten?
Dave, reading into minute 41.
I am.
As we entered minute 40 of Jurassic World, Claire had returned to the control room to only have the eyes of the park staring at her. As we ended the minute, Vivian was on the radio. This is Control. Put out a park-wide alert. As we open on minute 41, Masrani interrupts her. Wait, hang up that damn phone, please. Vivian tells the person on the other end that we're getting new information. At the 4-second mark, Masrani begins his speech. Let asset containment capture it quietly. Our very existence is predicated on the ability to handle situations just like this, in the eventuality that they happen. Larry pipes up. You should put that in the brochure. Eventually, one of these things will eat somebody. At the 90-second mark, Claire says that thing is 4 miles from the nearest attraction. ACU can handle this. No one else is going to get... And she pauses long enough for Larry to finish her sentence. Eaten? At the 26-second mark, we cut to ACU headquarters as the troopers gear up to go after the Indominus. At the 37-second mark, with the raptor shriek, we cut back to the raptor enclosure, and Blue has a head in some sort of restraining cradle. Barry's quietly patting her head, trying to calm her in this awkward situation. At the 43-second mark, Batman Hoskins appears, asking, how fast can they run? Barry looks up, says 40, 50 if they're hungry. Hoskins approaches the cradle, asking, you ever open them up, see what they can do? Barry flatly replies, no. As we in minute 41, Blue shakes around the cage, scaring Hoskins, supposedly. He tells Barry, she got me. As Vivian put out the alert over the radio at the end of minute 40, Masrani jumps straight down her throat. Hang up that damn phone, please. And Vivian tells whoever's on the other end, sorry, I'm getting new information. And as Masrani joins them, she sort of says everything's fine, with a sad face, knowing that she's just been told to lie to someone. Masrani begins his speech here, let asset containment capture it quietly. The very existence of this park is predicated on our ability to handle incidents like this. It was an eventuality, okay. I get it, he wants to keep everything quiet, but I wonder if ACU's underfunded or prepared, underprepared department with what we're going to see.
I would imagine that they're more underexperienced. I doubt that they ever had a asset containment thing quite like this, you know. I mean, I'm sure they probably had to round up the Pachycephalosaurus when they short out their tags, or I'm sure they might even had to corral raging Triceratops, stuff like that. But I mean, an animal that they don't even know anything about because they've just invented it, and now it's on the loose killing people. I doubt they've even had anything like Rexy to deal with that, you know?
Well, that's the thing. Like, firefighters, yes, they may spend most of the day in the gym, but they're also going out and tackling scenarios and sort of fire drills and that sort of stuff as well. Same with all sorts of departments, and especially what we learn of Hamada in the novel, how he was head of Tokyo SWAT, they'd be okay. Well, let's go and there's no guests at Tyrannosaur Kingdom. Let's go in there and trank her and just practice stopping, knocking the T-Rex out. Or we know the Carnotaur and all the other stuff's in different areas of the park. Why aren't we going in there where there's no guests and practicing?
True. I did forget that the Toro and the baryonyx and some of those other animals that, as Kenji put it, were too aggressive had been segregated to those other part of the parks, and that would mean that they probably also would have had to round those animals up, tranquilize them, and transport them.
And then there's the other elephant in the room, the whole, air quotes, rounding up animals from Sauna and bringing to Nublar. Surely that was ACU that was doing it, and that's what they would have cut their teeth on, but...
I thought that would have been Hoskins guys. Because that happened really early on, before the park was even finished, you know?
I wonder if he'd have been enough people for the operation. Again, just something we don't know enough about. If Ludlow's boys in their Major League Toys couldn't do it, Hoskins has come in and...
I think a couple dozen Marvel men could do it.
You just need the right man in charge, it seems. And we can talk about more in the next few seconds when we see him, but yeah, ACU don't seem prepared to tackle the island's inhabitants at all, or especially the big ones with teeth. Larry hits back here, you should put that in the brochure. Eventually one of these things will eat somebody. Bit of sarcasm there, but both Claire and Masrani ignore the insubordination once again. Claire instead is looking up at the map wall that paddock is 4 miles from the closest attraction. ACU can handle this, no one else is going to get. And in that pause, Larry finishes the sentence, eaten. So they're confident they have the abilities to stop her. Again, 4 miles from the closest attraction. As we see on the map, she's not sort of heading directly to the park. She's sort of arcing wide, almost following the same line as the restriction zone boundary. So until she starts to smell people. We
learned from Wu that she's able to visualize thermal radiation, so she knows where. And this is brought up later in the actual movie, that she is able to kind of track and become attracted to the body heat of people, and the park's shutdown procedures kind of facilitate her ability to just zero in on the park's control center, you know?
Yeah, we can talk about when we get there and all that happens, but was she on a hill and she can see a big glowing red ball in the distance, and she got predator vision? Like how does she interpret that big red glow of warmth or mass is food, especially when the dead sides of beef are coming in with supposedly no heat, and it's the tropics, so everything's hot. Well, I learned all this with Predator 30 years ago. Thermal vision in a jungle isn't the best.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Maybe she's recognizing live animals as separate from dead ones, and can recognize the fact that the more of these heat signatures are, the more prey there is. You know?
Yeah. And she's smart. She's obviously putting 2 and 2 together when she's come across new animals to hunt.
Yeah.
Just eventually she gets close enough to the park that But that's when we cut to the ACU ready room, I'll call it. We get the sort of militarized style InGen theme playing here. Another one of the themes in the film I do like.
Yeah.
But we get that big topographical map of Nublar on the wall. Lagoon, cough.
Which I believe that is also the same map that we see Owen prepping ACU with at the closer to the end of the movie, where they have the raptors hunting down the Indominus. And this map was actually released in full HD, so this map does exist out there for fans to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot more detail here than what we see on the big blue park map in the control room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do like how they done that. I just wish we had the same for the Lost World. Everyone's grabbing various weapons, some recognisable, others seem to be in-gen zone tech. We get the big ACU letters on the wall here, so we don't get the extended name like we do in the novel. So at the moment there's still ACU, we don't know what that stands for in the film. But we can hear a voice over the radio as all this is going on. This is a non-lethal operation, understood. And just as Hamada shoulders the taser rifle, ignites the shock prod. Probably not the best thing to do inside while everyone's running around. I know it looks like he's a badass, but you've just lit that taser up, and you could easily hit someone with it. But that's our little look into ACU. Now the boys are getting ready to go out and capture the asset. Anything on that you want to discuss?
Well, I mean, I do think that their little, I guess you'd call it locker room, is interesting here because, I mean, it doesn't look like it's done with straight lines. Like every single locker room that I've ever seen, it looks like they've got a bunch of angles here going on with this room, and they just kind of shove stuff wherever they can. Like they've got the lockers lining the walls naturally, but then they also have shelves. And honestly, I mean, I know it's for dramatic effect, but why is it so dark? I mean, come on here. I mean, I don't want to be fumbling with my equipment here in the dark.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure anybody who has ever played any kind of sports and knows what it's like to have to put on all that equipment, nobody wants to do that in the dark, you know?
No, too, it's yes, it's militarized security or animal containment. It's not an active war zone, so the weapons would be in an armory. Just everything's in the one set. I know it's just so you can see people, one person putting a vest on, someone else grabbing a shock rifle and everything else, but it's dark, it's claustrophobic, it's all in a small room, which again makes me think poorly funded. Maybe they're down in the basement of the command building.
They could be. I mean, but at the same time, I mean, they do have. I mean, light bulbs exist.
Well, 2015, it's all LED now. Brighter lights, less power.
I mean, you can see though fluorescent lights on the thing there, but they're just not turned on.
We also get our first look at Hamada here. I don't think he's got another name. You mentioned earlier when we were back at the Indominus pen how he was going to have his first role there. Was it when Masrani was there or when Owen turned up? It was when Masrani was there, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah, because at the time, I think Saurian, which was Masrani's horrible early name, was that was still the script name at that time.
Yep, but we'll get more of him in the coming minutes. That's when we cut to Blue and someone pushing down on that Raptor screen button on the sound generator again. Her head in a restraint, those big eyes moving around, looking around.
Which makes me think that wasn't actually her screaming, because, I mean, how do you even open your mouth with that restraint on?
Well, we see there's only two of them here in the enclosure, so the other two are running around. Delta and Charlie are off running around, but I don't know why they'd be shrieking like that unless they're attacking something or hunting.
Though, I mean, the Raptors did do it in the first movie, too, when we first see them show the Raptor pen. We hear that loud dolphin scream.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's almost the same cut.
Yeah, it is.
But Barry's here, patting her on the head, telling her to calm down, and off screen we can hear Hoskins ask how fast did they go. Barry looks up and says 40, and we cut to his POV as Hoskins just standing there in the cage with him like Batman. Barry didn't even notice that he'd come in the cage. There would have been a buzz as the cage door opens, but it seems like Hoskins just appeared.
I like the line in The Dark Knight Rises where Catwoman disappears on Batman, and Batman's like, so that's what that's like.
Taste your own medicine. I probably should mention it, but I think there's a similar thing in Justice League when they're all on the roof. And they all leave, and Barry Allen, the Flash, who's the fastest person, is still there.
Yeah.
They all seem to get the jump on him. Barry continues 50 when they're hungry, so a bit faster than the original Raptors, because I think they're 40...
I think it was 40, 50 or something like that. 50 or 60.
Yeah, if they ever got out in the open.
Yeah.
And again, we're told they're astonishing jumpers, and we never see it.
Well, we do. I mean, not in the first movie, but I think that was one of the great things about The Lost World is that they saved that little trick for the raptor to jump across the roof in The Lost World.
Yeah, and it does jump up to Ian on the second level of the killing house as well.
Yeah.
And we sort of get them trying to jump up and get Amanda and JP free too, so...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I'll let that one pass. But Hoskins hoots and asks, you ever open them up, see what they can do. Their animal's not a Mustang or a horse.
Not to Hoskins, though. That's the thing, is that to Hoskins, everything is exploitable. And to him, these Raptors are basically just another hot rod he can tune up and take off on the highway. You know?
It makes me wonder if they ever plan to put saddles on these or the Gallimimus. If they ever thought there'd be enough domestication like horses.
Unfortunately, I do think I remember the concept art of Raptor-powered ATVs that came out a couple months ago, and I'm insanely glad that never happened.
Yes, they'll throw a lot of things at the wall. But they do race ostriches and that. Fair enough, they're not predators, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Still kick your ass, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. But Barry replies flatly, no. And in the background we can see another raptor with his head in the restraints, and the vet seemingly checking it out. Owen said it earlier that you put 5 amps into these animals and they'll never trust me again. So how do you keep convincing them to put their head in these restraints where they're going to be locked in place?
I don't know, raptor snacks? Put a dead mouse in the thing and just wait for him?
Goby neck?
I do kind of have a problem with the way that these raptors are animated, though. Naturally, I'm sure we all remember seeing the leaked image of Charlie's static maquette head in one of these, being fitted inside one of these restraints, and I remember everybody being excited, like, capture gear, cool, and everybody thinking, of course, that they were animatronics, and of course they turned out not to be. They were just stand-ins for CGI later. But the CGI here still looks stiff, especially the head, and it just feels like they didn't animate it enough, and it just feels like, because you can see the snout moving, you can see the animal huffing and breathing, but nothing's moving, and I understand the necessity of not wanting her to have wiggle room. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like any of the flesh is actually living. And, of course, naturally, the way that these raptors are designed, they're a bit more pudgier than the original raptors, and they have more flesh on their faces. But it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like there's any kind of give among their flesh, or that the flesh is even being pressed in by the bars on the restraints here, which would naturally something you'd either want to do, or there would be some give if they weren't.
Yeah, for all the muscles in the face, or on the skull of these animals, and that, like we've seen them before, being able to move their lips up and down when they snarl, and all the sort of things like that. And yeah, as you said, like if they move the head around here in a minute when she goes at Hoskins, there's no feedback or no pushback from the steel actually impacting the skin or the scales. Yeah, because as you said, they did actually have stand-in heads here, so the actors could interact with them, and then they've just done the CG layer over the top, which is a shame. Especially when I think Frank Marshall or his wife posted a photo online of that green and yellow raptor head, and everyone was excited to see that. Thinking raptor animatronics were returning with that as well.
Well, this is scenes where an animatronic would have been perfect for. You have very minimal kind of, I mean, it's not very interactive. You got the head poking out of something, so you can easily puppet that from behind whatever that crate is.
Yep.
You have the characters interacting physically with the actual CG, with the actual prop. So, I mean, this is one of those things where if Universal wasn't reluctant to have animatronics, I guarantee you this would have been animatronic.
And then you could imagine how much detail they'd have in it, like those JP3 Raptors, just all the little servos and that moving different parts of the skin. And as we've seen with Owen interacting with a real animatronic Baby Blue, just a little bit more of that spark from the characters, knowing that. And
not only that, but we have multiple times in this movie where we have the characters interacting with the raptors in a close-up environment, so that all you see is like shoulder or neck up. For example, when Owen takes the headset off Blue later on in the movie, that again would have naturally probably been the same animatronic they would have used here, because all you see in that shot is Blue's neck and head.
Well, like when they put the cameras on as well.
Yeah.
Yet it seems they made... Instead we got Colin standing in the jungle with a raptor head behind him for marketing.
I know.
Come on, guys. It's supposed to be all turning around for Dominion, so we'll see. After a moment, Blue snorts and moves suddenly, seemingly scaring the pants off Hoskins, but I sort of feel it's a bit of an act. I don't know how scared he is of it, especially if what he's going to start going in with his speech next minute about his wife. But as the minute ends, Barry laughs and Hoskins says, "It got me." I don't think it was trying to pull your leg, it was trying to eat it. But it might also be sort of animals can detect evil characters.
Well, we do see that again kind of come up in this next minute here.
Yep. Anything else on that before we get over to novel comparisons?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Masrani glares at Larry for the brochure comment, so at least we get a little bit of a response there. In the novel, it described ACU to be in the security barracks, 8 men in navy blue jumpsuits with ACU patches, put on claw-proof vests and grabbed electric rifles. Claw-proof vests. so InGen's making claw-proof, not bulletproof vests.
Is that stronger or less so than Kevlar?
Would it not still be a Kevlar vest?
That's what I would think.
It wouldn't be a carbon fibre vest, so you'd think it'd still be woven to try and stop claws from clawing. It'd be no different to bullet impacts, you'd think, but...
Exactly, yeah. Well, I mean, the main thing of a claws is that they scratch and impact, so, I mean, that you want something like Kevlar to deflect away the impact.
Yeah, but in saying that too, it's only going to protect... Okay, maybe the important bits, the torso, the heart, the lungs, the stomach, if it goes down low enough, but it just leaves all your tasty bits, all your arms and legs and fingers out the open.
Just have to remember to keep your fingers out of the cage.
Do remember to keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times.
Jurassic World is not responsible for any snipped fingers.
That's when you get a Quint character in the bar just missing his legs or an arm. We get Captain Hamada, a former SWAT team leader from the Tokyo police, twisting the handle with his electric spear, blue sparks crackle from the top, so we get probably the most backstory there for Hamada. Although it says here Captain, I think when we get to the video feeds later, it's Commander, so he didn't take his title from the Tokyo police, but again,